Hi there, my name is Ingrid and I'm here today to share with you some more perspectives on the stages of teething. So for those of you who know me, I am fascinated about anything and everything that is to do with enhancing and improving the facial appearance of children, and also anything that can be done to reduce the severity of the orthodontic problem. So there are things we can do at home, and we can practice or be aware of that will really help to during the teething process, to not only for the teeth to fit better, but it will also help and enhance how the mouth is functioning. So will improve how your child's breathing, will make your if they are sucking the dummy or the tummy, will make it easier for them to transition, and will also help with speech, will help with jaw development and nasal breathing. So I find it really helpful. I hope you find it too. So this is just suggestions. So of course the best way would be to evaluate each child separately, but those tips are basically more generic. Okay. So the main thing is there are three stages that have been described by Diane Barr. So she's a very famous speech and language therapist, and also myofunctional therapist. So she helped us a lot in the field of myofunctional therapy with her brilliant knowledge and connection with the teeth and jaw development. That's why I really like her work. All right, so the first thing is that to be aware as a parent is that once you notice around the 3 months or so, you'll notice that your child will start to bring the hands a lot to the mouth. So let's say when they are even if they are bottle feeding or if they're breastfeeding, and you notice that they start to bring the hands more towards the mouth. So there's a strong thing called hand-mouth connection, which we all have, and that's why when I talk, I speak, because it's connected. When I talk, I speak with my hands as well as with my mouth. So it's really important. The first tip is really important that if your child ever brings the hands to the mouth when you're breastfeeding or when you're bottle feeding, just encourage that to come to what we call the midline, because that will help to transition and mature a lot of these processes that happen around teething as well. So tip number one: don't move your baby's hand away from the bottle or wherever it is when they are feeding, when they're early. From 3 months onwards is really, really important, even though it's still probably about 3 or so months until the first teeth come through. It's really important that you start to encourage the child to explore the world and explore the hand. You see that they explore things. Wherever it comes to their mouth, they will start sucking or suckling. So they're gonna suck on things. So you can even put your finger, whatever comes in contact with their mouth, they start sucking. So it's really nice that with your care that you start to introduce those mouth toys. So they are this first stage is called the generalized stage, because the baby mouth is still quite small, and you're probably just gonna want to use the front part, which coincides that the first teeth to erupt are the ones in the front of the mouth. So that's why these come hand in hand. When you are helping with these little toys, you rest assured that they are going to be stimulating jaw development. They're going to be maturing these sucking and suckling reflexes, which will eventually really help not only with feeding and also with the chewing ability and speech, because it touches the tongue and desensitization, and also maturing the gag reflex. So all of those things I see a lot when there is a problem later on. They come for myofunctional therapy, and most of the time there was something not stimulated as much in those early days. So in these 3 to 5 months or so, you are looking for toys in the pharmacy or wherever you want to buy online. They are short, so they're gonna be only going through the front of your mouth, and you can help and hold it with your mouth and just watch for cues, like make sure of course they're not forcing it in or things like that. You can also let them put their hands in, or toys that are little short like this. Okay, so during that first 3 to 5 or 6 months on, you want to keep the toys on the front of the mouth. Okay, it is really important that we reduce the amount of dummy. So let's say if your child is a thumb sucker or uses the dummy a lot, try and make sure that during the day, or as much as possible, you remove that dummy and you give other things to stimulate them to put it in the mouth. So we come from a society that there's a lot of now concerns with germs and putting things in our mouth, and especially now with COVID. So it's going to make, my point of view, we're going to see even more issues that we already see in the clinical practice, because it is really important for the child to put things in the mouth. Okay, so really let them put things in the mouth and explore, because you know that more than anything else, you are helping them. You're going to be helping them with all these issues, and most certainly making their orthodontic problem less complex, which means less expensive for you. Okay, so first stage, 3 to 5 to 6 months, give them those toys that you find in the pharmacy. They're a little. If they are too short, too long, what will happen is they're just gonna trigger the gag reflex, and that's fine, because that's also helping to mature the gag reflex. Okay, so that's the tip for the first stage, called generalized staging. From about the age 5 month to about 7-8 months, the baby will transition to something called discriminative mouthing, also described by Diane Barr, and really brilliant information. I wish we all knew that, and that's why I'm sharing. It makes a huge difference as well. So this is when you see that the lower and front teeth will start to erupt, so all the teeth will begin to come through. So you started the mouth exploration prior to the chewing, because remember, prior to the eruption of the teeth, because remember, you are preparing and using these toys, you are stimulating those gums, and you are stimulating the bones, and also you're going to help this eruption to come through more smoothly. Okay, so you help the teeth to come through. During this other stage, it becomes even more important to give them toys, but then the toys needs to change the shape. So you can no longer, well, you can, but you should, best if you don't, use the same short toys. So during this, from 5 to around 7 months or so, you want to look for toys that are longer. Okay, so it becomes harder to find those toys in the pharmacy. So one of them that I find in the pharmacy is those bananas. So the reason it's hard to find in the pharmacy is because you are looking for toys that are longer, so they can actually reach further at the back of the mouth. So those are fantastic. If you want to just send me a message, I'll tell you where to find them. And then they're gonna chew more at the back of the mouth. Okay, by this age, what's happening is you notice that the face and jaws are getting bigger, so they have more space where the jaw continues to grow. They have more airway space as well. So it's really important that they transition from these sucking toys where they don't have a lot of chewing opportunities, because it's not triggering the bite reflex as much, and you start to transition them to longer toys. Okay, so there are many of them. I have many in the clinic. And then what you do is you let them play. So again, you give them, instead of giving the dummy, again you go and they will chew on it. Okay, so they will start to prepare them for the feeding skills. And another thing that I found really fascinating and so helpful and interesting as well is that if we give these toys to our children in the right timing, so this one's start to make the bigger one from that age group, 5 to 7 months, you are helping them to learn all the ways to calm themselves other than the dummy or the sucking. Okay, so let's say especially if they are thumb suckers or using the dummy, these toys will really help, because it will move the tongue will get stronger, will give the more stability on the jaws. Okay, and then it will also continue to help the teeth, the jaws and everything, as well as stimulate the sutures in the cranium. So that stimulates, that creates a little bit more balance in the head system and the body, and it will also help with the breathing pattern because it's all connected. Okay, so going back to that suck, swallow, breathe. So you are helping, you're preparing them to mature their swallow as well. Okay, so use toys that are longer, from 5 to 7 months. Another thing that you can try and do at this stage is you want to try and start to phase out the dummy, or help them with the thumb, just by doing those things. Another thing is nice to start giving them cups to drink from. I don't have it right here, but there's like those medicine cups, or they sell those party shots cup. You can start giving them cups to swallow from, to again move away from that sucking reflex. That's why those sucking, those sucking yogurts and pouches, they are very addictive, because they are triggering that innate sucking reflex. So gotta be careful, move away from too much soft, smushy stuff. And that's when the baby will also start to be introduced to solids. So really important, if you are struggling there or overwhelmed, that you seek a professional that is feeding specialists, like the speech and language pathologist, and get some good advice on that, and use a variety of things. And most important of all, hear your baby's cue. They'll tell you a lot of cues, so sometimes just observing them is good enough. So the tip is, give during the day, get those toys out. I used to have, when Matthias was during that stage, many one in the pram, one in the bathroom, and would offer him, in different parts of the house. I would get, there's different textures one, and different shapes, just to give it interesting. There is another one that we can sell that I use in the clinic as well. Is the Uni-Arch Myochew, so they shouldn't have bristles. Wait, can you see that? They're pretty cool. So yeah, there's heaps of those. I like to find them out. So if you want the names, I can share with you. And then the next thing that will happen for the end stage of teething is called the Diane Barr as well. She how can I say, call them the true mouth plays. So true mouth plays is, they continue to use those cues. They will continue to mature, and what will happen is the tongue movement, the chewing will be more sophisticated. So you start to see more rotation, you start to see more control of the different muscles. So the lip muscles will move more individual. You see more facial expression, and you also see more teeth coming through. So really important to let your child play with things in their mouth. Wash with hand and, in my personal opinion, soap and water, better than those gels. Because last thing is to remember that one of the also biggest issues we have now, and we see a lot in a lot of those very up-to-date health professionals, they are looking really into the gut and the gut health for a lot of mental diseases, and also we're looking as well as the ability to absorb the nutrients for the jaw to develop. But what happened during these early days is the maturation of the nervous system, as well as the how can I say, the colonization of bacteria in their child's gut health. So the less exposed these children are to different forms of germs, what will happen is they get a lot more sensitive to whatever they experience later on. So there has been studying done with rats, where they made it all super sterile, like sterilizing this, sterilizing that, and the rats actually got really sick. So we live in the sterilized world, and so we've got to be careful not to sort of like protect too much the child's mouth, because you will delay not only the speech, the jaw development and everything, but also the colonization of the gut flora. The gut is our second brain, and also that's where all the nutrients gets absorbed. So once that's not working well, then everything comes after. So this is the end of the perspective of the gut-mouth connection, and I hope that was helpful to you. I understand it's a bit of information, but I totally believe that the same way that we need to start thinking of better ways to look after plastics and things like that are happening in the world, we need to start having this conversation, because it's way too many children presenting with problems that can be, I totally believe, can be decreased, the severity can be decreased if only we have this form of conversation. So thank you so much for watching me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.